Hello glue sniffers, and welcome to the second video of my Shelf Queen rescue project. In the first video we painted and weathered this nice T-34, and now it's finally time to put some paint on this live cargo in the back. Don't get me wrong, I still kind of suck at figure painting, but with these 7 guys I learned a lot, and I want to share this with you. The figures are from Tamiya, from the 90s, and they are what they are. Not great, not terrible. I just replaced the heads with Hornet ones, and as you can see, 5 years ago I didn't know how to do this properly, but we will have to live with that. I quickly mounted them for painting, and it was time for cleaning. A quick blast of air to get rid of the dust, some cleaning with isopropyl and soft brush, another blast of air for drying, and off they went in my figure box with the cover. I always use this procedure, not only with figures, and it works, no problems at all. I decided to give pre-shading a try this time, so I started with an overall coat of black primer. I had quite some problems airbrushing it, but then I realized that I was using a 0.2mm nozzle on my airbrush. I quickly changed it to a 0.4mm one and all the problems were gone. So, don't apply primer with your detailing nozzle. The pre-shading, or better pre-lightening, was done in 2 colors. The first was Deck 10 from Tamiya, and this was applied as an overall coat, but I was avoiding the deepest shadows. The second was white. Both paints were used quite lightly, let's say half of the reservoir of Mr. Leveling Thinner and 3 brush loads of paint. I sprayed the white only on the most exposed areas, trying to highlight the details. And here are the results. Nice job, but did this help me with painting? Yes and no. You will see. I also did the pre-shading on the heads and the weapons, but my painting approach on those is different. And grey primer would be great, but instead of using 2 different primers, I did them the same way as the figures. I had this set from Ammo in my stash, and I will use the 2 middle colors as base paint and the brightest one for highlights. I don't like the dark one, so I will skip it. We are dealing with 7 figures here, and some difference between the uniform colors is a must. So this is the plan. Yellow-green for the striped uniforms, dark olive green for the non-striped uniforms, and Russian uniform from Vallejo for the coats. And the mixed guy, well, he will be done with the first 2 colors. If you want the pre-shading to help you, you have to apply the base color as a glaze. That means that the color should just change the area slightly and not cover it completely. I filmed the uniform procedure on this one, with the coat. The color was Russian uniform from Vallejo, and spoiler alert, it turned out the worst, because painting and filming don't go together in my case. So, a glaze is paint with a lot of water. You have to cover the entire uniform and not let it accumulate in the details. You can call this a filter too. Let it dry, and then you should repeat this step until you get the desired effect. Here we go with the second hand. I applied quite a lot of paint to the area, and then I was spreading it around evenly. The paint will try to act as a wash, but you can't let this happen. Just spread it around. I stopped at the second coat. I also prepared 2 German leftovers to test the colors. In this case, dark olive green was the base color. I used pale yellow green for highlights and dark brown for shadows. And now we will take a look at our coat guys again. After 2 coats of Russian uniform as a glaze, we have a base color, but we can still see the pre-shading underneath it, and we will use it as a map. With all the uniforms, the base color will be different, but the highlight and shadow colors will be the same, so they will all look like they belong together. Let's mix the first highlight color. I took some time and made a color chart of sorts. First, I put the pure base and pure light color on a piece of paper towel. And then I mixed 4 paints, going from base to light. We will use this for making the shades. In this case, the base color is stronger, so we will start with the light color and we will be adding the base color in small amounts. let's check the shade. A bit dark, so we will add a bit of light color. Checking again, and okay, close enough. All we have to do now is thin it to obtain something like this. All the thinning ratio that I'm showing you are rough estimations, so you will have to try for yourself. But you have a starting point. I must take a second to say thank you to my fantastic Patreon team. Guys, your support is amazing. Check out my Patreon page to see if you like it. It's free for the first 7 days, so no excuses. Time to apply the first highlight. On the lower part of the figure, we paint all the upper parts of the folds in a nice wide way. Use the preshading as a map. Keep the areas white, because we have 3 more highlights coming, and we will be narrowing the areas with every one of them. On the upper part, we go even wider. We are not addressing folds at the moment, we are painting entire areas because the upper part should be lighter. At the end, you will probably not see much, but it should be that way. Second highlight. Same story as with the first, but on smaller areas and pointing towards the maximum highlight. Even those highlights are like glazes or filters, so the coats are barely visible. It is time consuming and frustrating, but for a noob like me, it's harder to screw things up. After 2 highlights, it's time for some shadows. Here we start with the base color, and we are adding small bits of dark brown in order to darken it. A quick check against our chart, and we are ready for thinning. If the highlights were thin, then this is dirty water. You should roughly double the amount of water. Let's put it on. The job here is quite the opposite like for the highlights. No shit, Sherlock. On the lower part of the figure, we are addressing the folds and bigger areas, because the lower part of the figure should be darker. On the upper part, we are proceeding more selectively, mostly outlining things and doing the folds, but still in nice white passes. I know that I might sound like a broken record, but the second shadow is all about repassing the first one on smaller areas, pointing towards the maximum shadow. A trick that works for me is using a smaller brush. That way I'm kind of forced to paint smaller areas. And after 2 highlights and 2 shadows, you should be able to see that something is happening with the figures. I mean, you should see that we are moving somewhere. But no worries, from now on everything will go quicker. The first 2 rounds of highlights and shadows are the hardest for me. You don't see much and you're constantly asking yourself if you're doing anything at all. With the 3rd highlight, folds will start to show off. And with the 3rd shadow, everything will start to pop out. Instead of covering white areas, we are moving more toward outlining. The 3rd round is done, and we can see the results with the 2 German leftovers. Not bad. With the 4th highlight, we are mostly highlighting the most exposed areas. And now I will show you the guy that I was doing off camera. Well, there is quite a difference, but hey, same colors, same procedure, just no filming pressure. And the final shadow was mostly about outlining and reinforcing the strongest shadows. The boring part of the video is behind us, but I wanted to show you my way of doing things. Now you can see the results on the other guys. I'm quite happy with them. And now we will move towards the gadgets, starting with the boots. The Soviets were wearing black leather boots, so they should be black, but I wanted some life in them, because we are still talking about leather. I started with the glaze of dark brown, the same as for the shadows, on all the leather parts, the boots, the belts and the holsters. Then I reinforced the shadows with pure black. I was just following the preshading and outlined every detail. And now for some magic. For the black leather I used a blue glaze. Blue will cool the brown color and turn it into a nice grey foundation. And for the brown leather I went with a red glaze. This should warm the brown color and make it richer. In the end, all I had to do was finish the boots with black glaze and finish the other stuff with the brown glaze. And I can say that the boots were the only part where the pre-shading really did its job. As for the uniforms, we need some different colors for the gear too. For the backpacks, I used US dark green. It was applied in 3 rounds in order to obtain a nice solid base coat. Something like that. For those kind of potato bags, I used German camo beige. Here I'm doing the second application. With Soviet gear you nearly can't go wrong. Any sort of green, brown, khaki or beige will do the job. I used English uniform for the side bags. And the big things are out of the way. I painted the shovel and the water bottle covers in dark olive green. The top part of the bottle in metal makes a nice touch in my opinion. Here we are dealing with small things, and I decided to only apply a dark brown wash to the fabric and some black wash for the metal part. And with only one strong shadow, here comes only one strong highlight. I think that this is more than enough for this kind of small stuff. The bigger gear, on the other hand, needs more attention. Here you can see the backpacks with 2 highlights and 2 shadows. The color was US dark green from Vallejo, and I was using pale yellow green and dark brown from Ammo for altering it. For the potato bags, the story was kind of the same, but here I used pale sand for highlights and dark brown again for shadows. I quickly mixed 2 shades of each, and I will not bother you with the whole process again. After the 2 highlights and 1 shadow, here I'm doing the second shadow, and you can see that the bag is coming out nicely. Progress check. The gear is mostly done, and you can see that it adds a ton of life and detail to the figures. But we are still missing some small but interesting parts. I'm talking about the shovels. So, wood and metal time. Here you can see the base coat. I used Iraqi sand for the wood and neutral grey for the metal. And I did the same with the guns. From here on I was following my own tutorial for painting, which is by the way already on my channel. If you follow it, you should end up with something like this. And the guns? Well, here you go. I will just say that my weapons painting tutorial works. Speaking of tutorials, there is another one on my channel, the one about skin tones and, more importantly, faces. I still have a lot to learn, but you will get a lot from it. Both links are in the description of the video. Okay, enough self-promotion. We will go on with the heads. I used khaki from Vallejo for the base coat. The first highlight was khaki and pale sand, 1:1, and you're watching the second highlight, which is pure pale sand. The same ratio was used for the first shadow, but with dark brown. And here is the final shadow, pure dark brown. For the helmets, the base color was dark olive green. Don't forget to paint the inside too, and be careful not to ruin the face. Same way as the heads, I did 2 highlights and 2 shadows, and I was using the same colors again and again. The armor modeler in me came out, and I couldn't resist doing some chipping. This is my standard mix of dark grey and German camo black brown from Vallejo. Take care not to exaggerate things. And the final step was to do some worn metal edge with a pencil. The small details on the figures are very important, and you should never skip those. I did the belts on the backpacks with leather belt, then the buckles with steel, and I brought out the buttons with pale sand. If the detail is there, you should paint it, or at least try to do so. I also used pale sand for the ropes on the potato bags. It's a lot of work, but in the end, you will be rewarded. Our figures should look something like this now. But before we proceed with the final assembly, there is another important job to do. I'm talking about the final outlining. For this task we will use our shadow color, dark brown, but we will turn it even darker with a bit of black. We will thin it down heavily to obtain something like that. I used this color to bring out the details where some definition was missing. We are talking mostly about the gear. So let's put the crew together. First, some test fitting. Be sure to know where the guy will be looking. Recently I teamed up with WW2, so we will go through all of their products in my videos eventually. This time I used their standard glue. I was first thinking about putting the gun in his hand, but then I came up with this. The toothpick was helping me a lot, and then I just snap it off. You know what? They don't look bad at all. Arranging and gluing the guys to the tank was not a nice job at all. First you have to find the right position, then put the figure on with some glue, and in the end reinforce all the bonds with thin glue. Here I was using WW2 Fast. It's like water, you touch the bond and the capillarity effect does the rest. You may have noticed that I changed the position of the figures from the unpainted 360 video. I did that to make room for this. I made a flag in a very quick and easy way, but I decided that the tutorial would be just for my beloved Patreons. A last minute detail that will add a ton of visual interest when painted. I will let you guess the color, okay? Let's take a look to our live cargo. I'm very happy with the result, and now there is another surprise for you. The tank is done, the figures are done, but we are missing some scenic base in order to have a complete diorama, right? Well, here you go. The last part of this Shelf Queen rescue project will be finishing this nice scene, which was also made 5 years ago. So, in the meantime, stay healthy, stay cool, and put some glue on the styrene too. Bye.